From the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis, JP Shadrick, John Oehser, and Jaguars head coach Liam Coen joining us on Radio Row, making the rounds today. First time as a head coach. How are you? What's up?
I appreciate it, guys. It's been awesome. Really pleasure to be here. It's been a while. It's been a few years since I've been able to come up here and seen a lot of familiar faces.
We heard you at the podium earlier. That availability at Jaguars.com. You can check that out, Jaguars YouTube as well. But it's not just prospects this week. It's the first time you've really had a chance to be around your staff outside of the building, and there's a lot going on, not even affiliated with the NFL draft this week.
Yeah, that's what this is. It's being able to be around the guys where we finally have basically finalized the staff, really get into the weeds of now, hey, the communication that we have with each other. The offensive staff is meeting currently right now. And then when you get into the evaluation and get into some of these formal meetings, settings, hey, we're evaluating coaches just as much as anything, and being able to give feedback and see what these guys can truly do. It's been exciting.
We talked to James Gladstone as well on the podium. Both of you guys in the last couple of days have talked a lot about communication, cohesion. How important is that? How important was that in the James hire, and indeed in all the hires?
It's at the forefront of this thing. Every single person I feel like that we were able to bring in and onboard into this organization, that's at the forefront of the evaluation process. James, one of the most elite communicators I've ever seen. His ability to connect with all walks of life, all different ages, group, everything. He's so detailed. And, I've seen him have some really difficult conversations with people, first and foremost, and the way that he's been able to navigate and operate those conversations is somebody that I really wanted to work with.
And that's key as you get started, right?
That's
because
right.
It's got to happen fast right now.
That's right. This is going to be a little bit maybe of a different, he mentioned, mode of operation right now. We're jumping right into it, but we do not feel behind by any means.
And that's good.
No, his vision for some of the things in the draft and free agency, he's been working on this for a long time. That's his baby. That's what he's been doing. That's what he loves to do. So I don't feel behind whatsoever.
What was the first time when you were around James?
Yeah.
When you realized, hey, he's got a shot. This could be a guy that moves up the ladder.
So he was in charge of, early on, go back to 2018, we had a very collaborative process between the coaches and the personnel department when it came to specifically post-draft going to try to get some of those undrafted players. He owned that entire process. So he was at the forefront. You had your coaches and scouts that would be in lockstep in communication, watching the tape together, ranking the players, putting them in buckets, while also being able to go get them, right? And so he operated that entire process, the whole thing. And then it's just continue to go and continue to evolve. And I just watched him do that with so fluidity, so much fluidity and grace and command, really.
And the ability, it sounds like what you just talked about in the collegiate free agency process, that's what you want from the whole organization. How important is that for scouts, personnel, and assistant coaches to be able to work together in that process? It's more difficult than it sounds.
It is. Because especially with where we are right now, having to onboard an entire new offense, defense, special teams is going to be a little bit of more of a mainstay, new strength and conditioning. There's a lot of different things happening. Well, when you have already a bridge that James and I do already have, it helps us tremendously. Just the way that we communicate, what we're looking for in so many different players and what we're trying to bring into this organization, that helps us tremendously, that we already have some of those things in place. And then, hey, once we get to it, you never want to bring somebody into the organization that either the coach or the personnel department did not want, right? It cannot be lopsided that way because the player won't have a chance. So we're trying to bring guys in that we can onboard into this organization, that everybody wanted, and that we can all be on the same page.
And everybody is always obsessed with final say, right?
Yep.
But that's something that doesn't come up that often anyway, but it sounds like you guys aren't worried about that.
It just doesn't even, hit my brain. That's what's crazy about the question is I get the question. We all do. But if that's what's driving us, we have no shot. We have no shot. Ego and agenda will not take place in this organization for us. It just won't. If we cannot make a decision, we are completely on opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to any decision. we've got to move on from that decision. How do we pivot? There's especially with player acquisition. There's so many players that we can go and move on to that maybe we're closer on, right? If we're completely on the opposite ends of the spectrum, we got to move on.
Liam Coen with us, Jaguars head coach. Where are you on scheme right now? I mean, you got, a little bit before the players show back up for the offseason program, so where are you in this offense?
Yeah, so we've, Grant and I and the offensive staff have met on a number of different occasions of taking, Tampa's system, Rams, Minnesota specifically, those three, and really, hey, how do we want to call this formation? What do we want to call this motion? Do we want to keep it the same from what it was in Tampa or in Minnesota? Those are the conversations we've had. We've finalized so many different, aspects, the general information, how our language that we want to speak with the players and coaching staff. They've been having more individual meetings with the coaches while I've been obviously doing some of the more GM search stuff. So we're in a good spot. We're in a really good spot. And defensively, man, those guys have been grinding. I mean, Campy, every time I walk in there, they're in the defensive staff room grinding. So excited about it.
He's a trip, right?
He is, man. He's dynamic in terms of the way that he can communicate, lead, get guys to play the game the right way. He has stood out just last night in these formal interviews. It just verifies everything that we were looking at in terms of the evaluator, the communication, the leadership, and the intangibles.
I know you've been focused on a lot of different things. Have you learned any more about your roster since maybe we talked at the introductory? And if so, do you have any better feel for it? Do you like it more?
Yeah, and I think it's very similar to when I was going through the process, right? There's a lot of pieces in place, and there's some areas that we can continue to create competition and improve upon. So every one of these guys is ours till they're not, and that's the way that we are approaching them. Every single one of them. So pour into them as much as we can within obviously the dynamics of the offseason program, just trying to build communication and connection with everybody on the roster. And, hey, this is now our chance to truly evaluate it through the same lens. Like I had my own lens, right? Now James had his own when he was going through the process. How do we now get together on that and be able to see it through as much of a similar lens as we can to start to make some more of those decisions?
Coach, you mentioned some of the prospect interviews, big piece, of course, of the combine here, sitting down with some of the top prospects. Take us in the room. Like, what do you want to hear from a prospect? Yes, the football part. Is there anything else on top of that that strikes you?
Ultimately, can he learn and do we want to coach him? Like, those are the two things that we've stressed. We're not going into those, 20-minute meetings and, how's your family situation, although we're not getting into those conversations. It is all ball. From the moment that they walk into that interview, when the clock starts, we are all ball. And it is teaching. Can they learn? How do they communicate? How do they take difficult coaching, hard coaching in a moment? It's an interview process. So, hey, it's not going to truly be their most authentic selves. It's just not. We know that. But, hey, do we want to coach them, and can they learn? Those are the things that we're trying to find out right now.
Have you had a chance yet to sort of step back and look around? Okay, we got the GM, we got the coach.
Yeah.
Now this is my team.
That's
and
right.
It's been a process to get there for you.
It has. It was interesting after we made the hire on Friday. Saturday was maybe the first day that
to breathe.
Right. It was. Tony and I really had shared a couple texts, actually, as I was driving around Jacksonville, kind of looking at some places, seeing the area. It was a nice day to just breathe a little and be so excited about what's moving forward. I mean, what an opportunity for us to all have to not a clean slate, but a great opportunity that's right now. And now we've got it basically finalized. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can breathe, but now we can truly move forward.
How's Baselli been?
Oh, he's been awesome. I mean, Tony has been, when you talk about all my best friends in college were at the O-line. Those were my roommates. Those were my best friends. We're still in a group text to this day. So we just naturally agree upon that in terms of the way that we want to play the game, our style and brand of football, the things that we value when it comes to player acquisition. And the way that we want to communicate in the building, right? What is our messaging? And we're in lockstep with that. Those have not been difficult conversations whatsoever, and he's been a great sounding board so far.
It's a new day, JP.
It certainly is. Coach Coen, appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy
I
the
appreciate
Combine.
it.
Jaguars
Awesome.
head coach Liam Coen joining us at Radio Row.
Thank you.